Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Front Page Esports. Me and Frank have been doing the work to get all those esports and gaming headlines, everything you need to know right here. And we got a jam-packed week. Just in Call of Duty alone, we have so many breaking topics. We toss it over to Frank now. Frank, just where do we even start this week?
Yeah, so like you said, Rob, there's a lot of news in Call of Duty. One of the heaviest news weeks in the Call of Duty scene we've seen in a long time, and for better and unfortunately for worse. But we'll start with some of the good this week. The LA Thieves are officially in Call of Duty. That's the franchise of 100 Thieves. For a while, we weren't really sure if 100 Thieves would be in the Call of Duty League come 2021. With the reported purchase of the Optic Gaming spot from Immortals Gaming Club, which we'll talk about here in a second. We had a feeling that LA Thieves might become a reality, and 100 Thieves might buy into the Call of Duty League, and that became a reality this week, announcing their team, announcing their branding, bringing over Slasher, TJ, and Kenny from that Optic Gaming LA roster that once was, now under the LA Thieves banner. A big moment for Call of Duty. The owner of 100 Thieves is Nate Schott, one of the most historic Call of Duty pros of all time, made a name for himself on YouTube gaming, and, was kind of a staple of Call of Duty. He's kind of the reason that Call of Duty exploded in a lot of the ways it did. It was because of his presence as a content creator. So it's awesome to see the 100 Thieves back in Call of Duty now with the LA Thieves franchise. And another franchise that, most people in COD will always know is Optic Gaming. And they were under Optic Gaming LA, but it was a different ownership group. It was Immortals Gaming Club. It wasn't the same that we've seen, in the past with Hex and the players like Scumpy and Formal and Big Timer and all those historic names of the Optic Gaming squad. Optic is back in the hands of Hex. It's now partnered with NRG. We have Optic Chicago in the CDL. It's a big moment. Hex has control of Optic once again. So many fans are happy. We can finally now say the GreenWall is back in COD, something that we've been looking forward to for a long time. And we hoped maybe one day, just for the sake of the brand strength, that Optic would be back in the hands of Hex, because Optic was such a big name, but it really wasn't the same under Immortals Gaming Club. With Optic being with Immortals and IGC, they lost followers. Like, they were losing fans, like literally losing followers on Twitter, where a Chicago Huntsman, who was with Hex and the NRG organization, was skyrocketing in viewership. And now Chicago Huntsman rebrands to Optic Chicago. I like the Huntsman, but Optic Chicago is just a whole different monster. It's going to be a great thing for the CDL to have 100 Thieves and Optic Chicago in the hands of Hex.
Do you see overall viewership going up now that you mentioned this following is going to get injected into the league?
Oh yeah, 100%. There's no shot in my mind that the Call of Duty League will deteriorate because of this. If anything, it's just going to grow exponentially. There's so many new eyes now that are going to be reattracted to Call of Duty, being that 100 Thieves is back in and Nate Shott's back in, and now Optic Gaming is back with Chicago. And when there's so much passion and fervor around that Optic brand, it's a different level. And some of the biggest and loudest moments in the history of Call of Duty esports were centered around Optic Gaming. So it just means so much. I'm so excited to see the future of the league. And now, like you mentioned, now the future Cold War just came out this past week, Friday, November 13th. It came out, and so far, like, it seems like a fun game. The pros are really enjoying it. The SND scene already, growing, and all these pros are playing in tournaments as we go now into the launch weekend. And there's a lot of, positives to look forward to in Cold War. Triarch, the developer, has already said that they are very, passionate about working with the esports side of things and the CDL to make it the best games and the best format and the best maps and everything they need to make the CDL work. Weapon tuning and everything that really is like the fine details when it comes to competitive play sometimes got left behind last year with Modern Warfare. So Triarch is kind of committing themselves already to making this work and really emphasizing the growing the competitive scene. So that's something to really be looking forward to.
Well, Frank, I want to press you a little bit on this because I haven't sat down with the final copy, but I did spend quite a few hours into the beta. So as someone who did both, any notable changes, any improvements from the gameplay, from the balance, anything standing out to you as a notable improvement from that beta product that was available publicly back in October?
Yeah, I mean, I may or may not have spent 4 hours on launch night staying up and playing Cold War, but that's neither here nor there. Notable improvements, it seems they've done some weapon tuning. There's a couple weapons that I still feel like they didn't really patch when they probably should have. I was hoping that some of the maps that came in with the full launch would be better than the beta maps. There were a lot of maps in the beta that were kind of polarizing in terms of whether people liked them. There was really no universal likes. And when it comes to full game right now, there's not many maps that launched. I think it's like 8 multiplayer 66 maps launched with the game, and they aren't the best that they could be. And Treyarch's known for making some of the best maps ever in Call of Duty. Raid and Standoff and Black Ops 2 come to mind initially as some of the best competitive maps we've ever seen in Call of Duty. And this is not so far. And it's only the first week, and Call of Duty likes to roll out things over seasons and over different battle passes, and they try to roll out free downloadable content with maps. But so far, I'm not seeing the kind of map design that I would have hoped for. So and that's something we just can't tell in the beta because we only get 3 maps in the beta or something like that, or 3, 4. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Absolutely. But Frank, this is where we might have a little bit of a disagreement in terms of the actual feel, the mechanics, the responsiveness, the actual physics, and just how the weapons feel to be able to use. Do you think Black Ops is going to be Cold War is going to be better than Modern Warfare? You feel
without a doubt. I thought that my biggest problem with Modern Warfare was, I felt like the movement was a little fine-tuned to the mechanics of the game, and movement were a little fine-tuned to make a casual player more comfortable. And I think with Cold War, they've kind of still emphasized the casual player to some degree, but like I mentioned, Treyarch is very big on competitive, where Infinity Ward is outspokenly against competitive play, not in terms of against it completely, but against like prioritizing that over casual gamers. Where I feel like Cold War tries to find a little bit more of the balance, and that's Treyarch, the developer, with Black Ops Cold War. So I think that overall the mechanics are a little more tailored towards a committed Call of Duty player or someone who's been playing for a longer time. So that kind of helps myself. But it's, at the same time, it's still very simple for casuals to pick it up and understand the movement. It's nothing crazy like we've seen in past Call of Duties. So overall, I think the mechanics are in a very good spot compared to where they were last year in the Call of Duty franchise.
Absolutely. I definitely feel like the TTK has definitely been raised. That's time to kill for those not familiar with it. And the theory behind that is if there's more chance for counterplay, if you need to be shooting at someone for a longer time to actually secure the kill, that allows more time for counterplay, more reactions, and that high level of play. Those kills aren't necessarily as secured. But speaking as a casual player, I did prefer the quicker TTK in Modern Warfare, but very excited to see what the best can do with that higher TTK, with that longer length of fights. And honestly, that does lead to more fun. I do remember the 2015, 2016 era of Call of Duty League where I was a big watcher. I did actually like that the TTK was a bit higher. Yeah. And even games like Apex Legends adopted that higher TTK, just again, giving players more options. But Frank, unfortunately, we do have to segue into something a little less exciting. Unfortunately, a very heavy loss for the Call of Duty community. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so we wanted to pay our respects to a player who, unfortunately, the Call of Duty League lost this past week, a player who has been around the community for a while. He was still very young in Pharaoh or Ferocities. He was 21 years old. He passed away this past week. It's a huge loss for the Call of Duty League. So first of all, we just want to give our condolences to the family, friends, and everybody affected by this loss. Pharaoh was a player who, he bounced around from team to team, but he was always a great personality. I don't think you can find a single person in the community who ever said a bad thing or ever had a bad rep in terms of Pharaoh. And he was a great guy, a great player, and he was a beloved member of the Call of Duty community. So we wish his family the best, we wish his friends and everybody in the community who's been affected the best as we go now into 2021. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of tributes towards him. And, I'm playing Cold War last night, and I'm seeing people with the F3 clan tag. I'm going to be rocking it for a while. Rest in peace to a great player, a great guy in the Call of Duty community in Pharaoh.
A big loss. And from us here at FPE, guys, check on your friends, check in with people, make sure they're okay. You never know what someone's going through, and just being able to reach out to somebody can be that difference. And it's very important. These are tough times we're going through. We have to remember that we're in it together, and it's up to us to keep everyone around us strong and keep everyone with us for as long as we can be. It's a short time we have here, and we have to make the most of it. It's just so important. You never know what someone's going through. You could be the difference. So we just want to put that out there. It's so important to check on your friends.
Yeah. All right, Rob, let's go back now to League of Legends. You love talking about League, and Worlds wrapped up a couple weeks ago, and now there's a lot of news coming out of the League of Legends community in terms of what to look forward to as we go into the next season of the LCS. So give us an update on what's been going on over there.
Absolutely. Well, if we look at just the winners of the league, we're going to give it to Damwon Gaming coming out of Korea, cementing LCK back in that first place position. There was never a question if North America was actually going to be able to be relevant at all. The 06 performance from TSM and just the floundering of them at Worlds really cemented them in their fourth place spot. But G2 from the European Union came very far. G2 taking that fourth spot next to Top Esports. But Sunning and Damwon were the final game, and Damwon was able to triumph with it with that spectacular Varus gameplay coming in from the bot lane. Very fun game to watch. But Frank, that was a couple weeks ago. I want to keep it current. If you're a League of Legends player right now, you are in a state of shock. You are in a state of confusion and a state of excitement. And that has everything to do with the brand new items that they have brought into League of Legends. Patch 10.23 right now, a complete rebalancing, all new items, all new splash art for the existing items. And we have these legendary items now, a lot of different new effects, a lot of crazy new builds. Honestly, Frank, I can't wait for professionals to actually get in there and start showing people some of these broken builds. I've seen some challenger players rocking some supports in the mid lane. Now, personally, I've been going heavy with the Jarvan in the jungle, did climb all the way to gold over the weekend, right as the preseason started. Preseason rankings don't really affect your full rankings, but you can get a preseason rank. So ranked still very much online for everybody who is passionate about it. Very interesting items. It's a lot about lethality. Lifesteal has now been changed into Omnivamp, and what that does is it allows for ability power champions to have similar built-in spell vamp from items in addition to lifesteal that the AD champions were able to go off of. And that really means that Morgana is no longer and Akali are the only two champions that get some benefit from spell vamp. There's now a greater variety of champions that can take advantage. Really cool new items such as Gore Drinker and some of these new lethality items, really giving some bruisers some interesting abilities here. A lot of it centers around being able to build tanky while still doing a lot of damage, specifically on percentage health. But Frank, for new players, people first coming into League, if you wanted to hop in a game with me, one of my biggest problems with League of Legends was how impenetrable some of the mechanics were. Specifically, they're just things that you just have to know. They'll never tell you it in the game. It's just you play it for 3 years, you figure it out. The recommended page is no longer a meme. They're no longer recommending items that literally cannot be built on the champion you're playing. And it's very situational. So what I really liked when I was hopping into these games, I would be playing a tanky champion that could either go full tank or could kind of build damage. In that recommended spot, it would be showing me the champions on the enemy team, and based on how ahead they were recommending items. So if there's a very strong AP champion, now it's suddenly recommending you those counter AP items. You want to burst, you want to be an anti-tank, or do you want to be a sustain champ? That's all labeled and that's all in the shop. So you can literally see what is situationally good. So some of those in-game decision making about, oh, what should I prioritize? What's a winning strategy? Something that had to happen in your head is now happening in the shop. Now, for high-level players, this is obvious. This is stuff that they knew. But again, with the introduction, of these new items, that's no longer knowledge that you have to pay a challenger guide or watch hours of YouTube guides. It's now built into the game. And in terms of Riot, they really have been trying to get rid of all of the necessity of external research in order to be able to enjoy their game. With these new items, everyone's kind of on an equal playing field. So it's good that Riot is giving us not just the new toys, but also the instruction manual on how to use them to their best effect.
Yeah, I think that's a great step in the right direction. I mean, one of the things, like, I haven't shied away from the fact that League of Legends isn't my strong suit. Obviously, I've watched it a little bit, I've played it a little bit throughout my time in gaming, but it's definitely not a game that I was ever able to fully grasp just because there's so much to learn. So it's a great first step, and I feel like to help the casual player help learn the game more and be part of the community and really get enthralled into the whole League of Legends universe a lot quicker if you have that built into the game itself.
Absolutely. But Frank, I got to say, like, it's also kind of confusing. Like, you could always check the tabs, see what items people are building, and kind of figure out who's strong and who's not. And this is the first time I can remember since I started playing the game where I literally don't know what stuff does. I'm like, oh, this is crazy power spike. Like, you just don't know how strong other people are, and they don't know how strong you are. So everyone's running around like chicken with their heads cut off, just fighting all the time, getting into those long trades, really seeing who is and isn't actually strong at these moments. I've been pulling out some off meta picks, some Pantheon mid, but I've been doing some good Xerath in the mid lane too, getting some good poke. And just from my perspective, I feel like they made a lot of items more gold efficient. There was a lot of items that had in and of themselves good abilities, good gold efficient stats, but they didn't really build into items that were useful for you long term. So that led to people building things early, selling them later, trying to get into those optimal builds. And I think a lot of those corners have been cut. It's a much more streamlined build. It's very rare that you're building an item for an effect that you want that doesn't end up building into a bigger item that's still useful to your build. And I think that's just a lot more efficient as well. And a big change, Frank, can't be understated, the end of jungle items. There's no longer a jungle item. League of Legends, you get those 6 slots for items. That's all you can build. And before, if you were a jungler, one of those slots the entire game would be dedicated to a jungle item. Now, if you pick Smite as a jungler, you get those 5 smites, it upgrades. You get the effect that a jungle item would, but it frees up a slot. You know what that does, Frank, at least from my experience? Junglers seem a lot stronger now. Now, that might be because a couple items such as Eclipse are just straight up broken right now, especially on characters such as Assassins like Kha'Zix, extremely strong. But getting rid of that jungle item, freeing it up, it's a lot of fun. And people are kind of figuring out, wait, like I'm spiking with my power. I can be much more gold efficient. I'm strong maybe 10 minutes earlier into the game than I usually was. And that's just led to people running away with the game. There's kind of a joke in League of Legends that jungle difference every single game, and which jungler can pull off more ganks. And it's just going exponentially right now. Jungle, definitely a fun role to be playing right now.
So, I mean, let me ask you this: looking ahead to the LCS when we start back up here, who do you think maybe takes a little bit of competitive advantage from these changes? Do you think a certain team will maybe stand out on a bigger stage and be able to improve on their ranking from last year?
Yeah, I think if we take a look at TSM, there's a lot of items that funnel into AD carries and make them a little bit more useful. So healing reduction, which was a big thing, especially in competitive play. If you're a good support, your whole job is keeping your team alive. You're getting those heals, you're getting those shields down. A lot more items with grievous wounds are coming out now, a lot of heal reduction coming out. And so what that means is those assassins, those bruiser types are a lot stronger now than those infinite sustain. In my opinion, those champions in League of Legends that just built a million health and just ticked you down slowly, as because they just had so much health you couldn't trade back, were kind of boring champions. And you saw that in competitive play. Season 7, a lot of tank meta, and the viewership dropped down. Riot kind of had to retool the competitive scene based on that. I think these changes really facilitate that as well. A lot of that heal reduction going to be coming in. Definitely good on AD carries. So if your team is a strong AD focus team such as TSM, I think it would do well. But Frank, honestly, I have no idea what to think of North America. They actually changed. They're postponing the spring split, and they're just going to make one long summer split. And now the idea behind that is they're hoping a Cloud9 situation is not going to happen again, where a team is utterly dominant in the spring, pretty dominant in the summer, falls off, and then doesn't even make it to Worlds. This team went from the hope of Worlds to not even making it there. They're hoping that that doesn't happen. In terms of what actually changes with these runes, yeah, there's going to be more of a priority around mid lane. I think roaming is going to become even more prevalent, and I think that just getting that that mid game control is going to be super key. Getting those towers down. Some of these effects actually help you take down earlier towers. So again, teams with those greater macro focuses might be able to, but I think it's just too early to tell. But I think G2 and the European scene, they're going to be happy with some of these changes to the Elder Dragon, specifically with updates to Ashe and Victor. They've used Ashe pretty heavily in Worlds, and her having a little bit more of that self peel and a little bit more of that anti tank potential definitely going to be to their advantage. Frank, I'm excited to see how these new items work. I'm looking at these YouTube videos. I'm looking at these pro streams. This is the most excited I've been to hop into a game of League since I first started playing, just because of how much is so new and how much is just experimenting and seeing what works. I think that's super exciting, and I feel like every player at every rung of the ladder, even the lowliest rung that I'm currently sitting with my rank, is experimenting and having a good time with it. But guys, the real question is this enough of a change to make Frank hop in a game of League with me? Frank?
Maybe. I mean, that'd be good content. I guess content's king. So
Yeah.
I guess if that's
So
what
guys,
it's
if
for,
you want to see Frank inting his face off 0-15 to bots, we'll have that bout up for you. Right, Frank?
Yeah. So make sure stay tuned for what's going on in the league. A lot of new stuff in that game. And another game which right now on the Riot side of the world as well, improving and growing to new heights is Valorant. And Valorant right now in the midst of its first strike tournament, a tournament series, trying to crown the #1 team in different regions throughout the world. And the main event is underway, and we had 4 teams qualify this past weekend in the Nerd Street Gamers tournament. Those teams were Envy, 100 Thieves, Renegades, and Sentinels. And those 4 teams had a really good weekend, especially Envy and 100 Thieves. Envy ended up winning the tournament, taking down 100 Thieves in the finals. And Envy just dominated in that last match. It really seemed like no matter what 100 Thieves tried to do, Envy had a counter, especially on the first map. I remember specifically, it was an absolute mauling. And from that point on, I didn't really think that 100 Thieves stood a chance. But 100 Thieves did have a really good weekend. They had a plus 23 round differential, the highest in everybody who competed in the tournament. A team who for a long time in Valorant was really bad. We've talked about 100 Thieves' Valorant struggles previously on Front Page Esports, and now to see that it's working out for them just proves that, having that veteran talent from a game like CS was definitely the way to go when it came to breaking into Valorant, in my opinion. They tried to go the route of PUBG, bringing in the PUBG players, and it just did not work. Now they've got the CS pros in there. They have the two players, should I say, from Immortals Gaming Club's Valorant team, who then came over to the 100 Thieves side with Asunya and Dicey, and they're doing a great job right now. And 100 Thieves is rolling. They're playing a lot better than they used to be. Envy as well, Sentinels and Renegades, of course, they've been great for a while now in Valorant. Teams that, on the outside still looking into qualify for First Strike, which is a little bit concerning for these teams. Cloud9, T1, and TSM are all teams who have not qualified. And since the start of Valorant competitive, these have been teams that we've had our eye on as some of the top dogs in the scene. And right now they're not qualifying yet. I'm sure they will have their time and they will make it into the First Strike main event. But so far, a little bit concerning that they weren't able to get over the hump and they losing out to new rosters like 100 Thieves.
Absolutely. But Frank, you know what? I do prefer this system to the old relegation that the LCS over in League of Legends used to have, where teams were fighting and playing like 10-game series against themselves to qualify for the tournament or drop out of the league entirely. I think Riot kind of learned their lesson that with franchise spots as valuable as these, that they can't really be kicking people out over one bad series. So I understand that qualifying should be difficult. On the other hand, I think it's a better system than just having straight up relegation. But if we take a look at Envy and 100 Thieves, vision control. TSM and Cloud9 are just running around these corners and trying to hoping to get these angles. If you look at the Sova gameplay on 100 Thieves, I know I caught a little bit of it, and forgive me, Frank, I can't remember the player's name at the moment.
I'm pretty sure it's Hiko. Yeah,
it's Hiko. Yeah, he can get those insane angles, and it's just you don't even think about these corners and these choke points of what site they're actually going for. But he's done the research. He's found the map, and if you know where they're going, you don't need to start. You don't need to rely on your Twitch reactions to find the angles. You already posted up, and you know where they're coming from. Abilities or not, you can predict that. And so that's been really rewarding, especially for 100 Thieves that, as you mentioned, started at the bottom and has now risen through the rankings here. And I think at the end of the day, PUBG was just not going to be as compatible in terms of the skill set as those Counter-Strike players. And I'm really happy to see them flourish.
Yeah. All right, Rob, really quick to wrap up the show here. We talk a lot about these PC games, and a lot of competitive games throughout the years have transitioned, even when they weren't on console, to PC. But still, the console wars are still a thing. It's still passion amongst the community. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X both came out this week. What's going on there?
Well, Frank, apparently no one can get their hands on them is what's going on there. It's literally a meme on Twitter that we might need some executive orders coming down to actually get people into the PlayStation 5s. People going as far as typing in their credit cards, clicking the order button, having the orders thing swirl, only to have it fail at that last second. I know a lot of Twitch streamers are hitting Twitter begging for PlayStation 5s. There's some scarcity going on here. As for the Series X, some muted excitement. Again, we saw that some of those big titles that were supposed to be coming out for both of these consoles were unfortunately delayed as a result of the coronavirus. And what that means is these are titles that are launching with not so much a new exciting library, but rather the promise of a library to come, specifically on the Series X. Even though it is a video game console, Microsoft really going hard with the interplay and the compatibility of their games and Windows 10, saying that any game coming out on the Series X, you will be able to get a copy for PC. So for people like myself and Frank that have a PC at home, I was always a PlayStation guy. I liked that PSN was free, and I really did like their exclusive library. But now from a value proposition, it does seem like being able to have that game not only in my Microsoft account, but in Windows 10 accessible to me and being able to play it with my friends through that cross-platform compatibility as well. The Series X is really giving me a pretty big value proposition. But Frank, I know the PS5 fanboys have their take as well. I know they're very excited for their new release as well.
Yeah, I mean, the PS5 and the Series X are, they have their pros and their cons. I mean, if you think of exclusives, like I guess the biggest name in terms of esports, like in the community that you think of an exclusive is Halo Infinite, which even that you know, I have my thoughts on Halo Infinite, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. But I personally think that Halo is all name brand hype, and it's not really substantive of the actual quality of gameplay. And it happens with every single Halo since Halo 3. So I don't know. I think at this point, the console is simply just, you know, I think your best decision when it comes to buying a console is, do you like the ease of a console? If you do like clicking the power button and playing your game, then the console's for you. And then what are your friends on? If your friends are on PlayStation, go with the PlayStation. If they're on the Xbox Series X, go there. I think that's honestly what it comes down to. I don't think there's a single exclusive on either console right now that's going to put one over the edge and give it the competitive advantage in terms of sales, I guess, should I say, over any other. So that's kind of my thought on these next-gen consoles. I really feel like the hype around them has not been as great as it was with the PS4, Xbox One of a few years back. And I honestly think that's just because people have really come to understand that the PCs are just so much better. And it's not
Yeah,
even
but
really
Frank,
close.
with this console generation, there is a fun fact. This isn't an esport, but it's a huge game. I think it's worth mentioning. Grand Theft Auto 5 will now have had a fully fledged release on 3 console generations: PS3, PS4, PS5, 360, One, and Series X. So now spanning literally close to a decade of gaming now, GTA 5 making it on all the consoles. But Frank, in terms of being able to pick and choose your battles here, you know, as someone who's into racing games, I'm looking down the barrel and thinking, do I want Gran Turismo or do I want Forza? And for once, they both look pretty even to me. So I might be sitting this generation out. I sat the last one out. I kind of just rocked my PS3 and kept my PC here. But you know what? I might be buying into the hype. We'll see. And if me or Frank get a console, you know that we'll be giving you guys coverage on that as well. Maybe even as far as an unboxing and showing you guys what that looks like. I'm pretty excited. But Frank, if you had to choose one right now, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Which one would it be?
I cannot make that decision because I have had my mind set on not getting either of them for so long. But honestly, just because I have the Xbox generations up until the Xbox One, I picked the Series X simply because I would hope that some of the games I had become backward or are, you know, compatible with the new generation. And I think it's the only reason to make that decision. And I think that's similar to the decision a lot of people have to make, is like just something as simple as like, I had Xbox forever, I'm going to stick with it now. How about for you? Would you stay with your PlayStation, stay with Sony?
I don't know. I was thinking about it, but it's a big investment. I might need a computer in the near future. But guys, let us know what you are gonna get. Let us know in the comments down below and on Twitter when we post this, Instagram TV. Let us know if you're getting a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. We'd love to hear what you're getting and why. Let us know what games you're excited for, and we'll take a look at them as well. And specifically, what console do you guys think is going to have the biggest future in esports? PlayStation 5 with that dedicated Twitch sharing button, Series X getting even more integrated streaming features as well. So guys, if you're a streamer, if you're a pro player, what do you think the console is going to be for you? Let us know.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us on Front Page Esports this week. Hopefully we'll see you again very soon. Give you some updates on everything we're talking about. All right, everybody, have a great day.
See you guys later.